Thank you so much for joining us for another edition of All Angles. I'm Dion Jackson-Miller, and welcome as always to our viewers on onespotmedia.com. So residents in East Portland will be going to the polls on April 4 to choose a new member of parliament. Nomination day will be March 15. Now, we're going to be talking about lots of issues. The campaigns have already kicked off, and both parties held mass meetings in Port Antonio over the weekend. Joining us on the program this evening, we have political commentator Martin Henry. We have Attorney General and MP for West Central St. James, Marlene Malahoo Fort, and also with us, the Member of Parliament for Northwest St. Anne, Dr. Dayton Campbell. First, though, let's have a look at the JLP's candidate, Anne-Marie Vaz, and hear a little bit of what she said in her address at the mass meeting.
First things that I did was to repair the train line bridge so that our children and adults don't have to risk their lives to cross that bridge. How can Portland have the most rainfall, yet the water crisis in Portland, East Portland, I don't think there's any other parish that has that crisis. We have placed 2 4,000-gallon tanks, one in Shatova and one on Lighthouse Road, to alleviate this problem until the government can implement its program to bring water supply to every individual home in East Portland. We had a major cleanup here in the town over Christmas, and a continuous bushing program has started from Long Bay to Folly. The motorists, the cyclists, the pedestrians are so happy because the roads are now clear for them to travel on it. The next big issue is roads. Portland need carpet. We want carpet from Portland to Prospect, to Ferry Hill, to Manchaniel. We want carpet in Prospect. All the 5 divisions, we need carpet. We cannot manage the bad roads in East Portland anymore. We cannot. I am thankful that the government has a program in place, and we will start seeing improvements, not only on our major roads, but on our farm roads for our farmers.
Well, 2 days later, it was the turn of the PNP's candidate, Damian Crawford, and let's listen into a bit of what he said as well.
I ran for a seat before, and I have some books that I'll be giving out on these walks called Proof of Performance. Because when I was in that seat, I did all that I could for the people. I have a level 1 from heart in steel bending because I went to heart so the youth then will go to heart with me. I mix cement with them youth so that they could build their own walls. I work and lobby for roads. I teach mathematics to all the youth them 8 hours a day, Saturday and Sunday. And then I hear them say I don't do nothing. But I look into this thing and I said to myself, yo, why is it that it don't work? Because Darrell Vaz himself asked me on Facebook, how come him in a parliament for 3 terms and me only in a parliament for 1 term? And the answer is that because something is wrong with the system. But I understood that I wasn't to be upset about it because there's a book in the Bible that tells you about Jonah. And PMP, they already have Joshua. But it tells you that Jonah whale did have to swallow. So when all the things happen and them say me have to come to Portland, East Portland, I say, well, maybe that is where Jonah whale intend for him to go. And so when them say me soon gone, it is a lie. Because the West already have a prime minister, and therefore it's now time for the East. When, I don't know. But if you look at potential, the furthest this lady will go is Mrs. Vaz. If you look at potential, How far can I go and how far will you come with me?
Okay, now that was one of the comments that Damian Crawford made that has drawn a lot of fire. Dayton Campbell, I see a lot of people saying, aren't other members in the PNP, more senior members, going to distance themselves or chastise him? Is that something you think you should be doing?
No, and let me say good night to your viewers as well. No, we have to take context into consideration here. Mr. Vaz refers to himself as Mr. Portland. Mrs. Vaz refers to herself as Mrs. Portland. That's what she is aspiring to become, Mrs. Portland, the Member of Parliament, and take on the moniker of Mrs. Portland. Damien made reference to it in a political context as to what their political future would be. He's saying that he will defeat her and therefore she will not get the title of Mrs. Portland. She will stay as Mrs. Vaz. I don't find anything disparaging about saying that, if you take it into the context in which it was said. He was not referring to it in any other domain. It was a political reference based on what the likely results of the elections are and where persons will go based on the results.
You've given a very nice explanation, but that's not what he said Sunday night, though.
That's
what
what I heard.
Is what we played.
That's what I heard.
Prime Minister from the West, Prime Minister from the East, the furthest that lady will go is Mrs. Vaz.
So
which a
he's
lot of
going
people
to
have
win.
read to say you can't be nothing more than a wife.
No, he's going to win. Therefore, based on him winning, his ambition is to become Prime Minister at some time in the future. That's why I said, when, I don't know when, but that's his ambition. Her ambition is that she wants to win. She wants to become Mrs. Portland to join with her husband to control, to be the representatives in Portland. He has said she will not be winning. Therefore, she will remain as Mrs. Vaz. Additionally, finding a wife is a good thing, says Scripture, right? And therefore, I'm not quite sure why someone, quite sure why someone would be ashamed. When I get married, if somebody says my wife is my greatest achievement, I would consider it a compliment.
Oh,
I would.
up to that point, I was going to move on to the Attorney General. But you're not, though, denying that we have had a history of women having obstacles and difficulties in politics and obstacles being put in their way in many cases, much harder in many cases than a male.
The only obstacle that has been placed in Mrs.
No,
Vaz is...
not talking her specifically.
No,
I'm saying
referring to
generally
her.
speaking, generally speaking, you acknowledge that has been an issue.
Yes.
So you can understand then why people would have...
I can understand, but context is important. But the only obstacle that has been placed in Mrs. Vaz's path thus far is by her husband, who refuses to allow her to display herself, to do interviews so persons can get to know her, to know what she's about. He's the one that is holding her back. And he should allow her to be free and empower her to speak for herself, right? And to inspire other young ladies. That's what he should do. He's the one who is holding her back. Well, Damien was speaking in a political context that has been taken out of context, and now we're having discussions about the trivial matters as opposed to what his platform that he's running on, about being Red Nation, being about education and development, talking about what he's going to do in tourism, in education, in agriculture, in infrastructure, which we'll get to at a later time.
Let me go to the MP for West Central's St. James and ask her to give her reaction and speak for herself then.
As a woman in Parliament, I find it most unfortunate that in seeking to put his credentials to the people, he would make the comparison in the way he did, and so disparagingly. It was insultive and rude. And I think just unfortunate, and no amount of spinning and explaining away and contextualizing will undo the offensiveness of the comment. It was meant to be offensive, and many have taken offense to it, rightly so. There are many women who have served as spouses and have enabled their husbands to make contribution. There are many women who for a long time were told that they could be nothing more than servants within the home, domestically, housewife and mother. And it has taken a long, long time in the fight to let the wider society understand that women can make a contribution
But having said
and
that,
have
is it
made a
not-
contribution.
Is it not also a viable criticism, though, as to whether, in fact, it is Daryl Vaz seeming to be fronting the campaign in East Portland as well? Is that the fact that women have historically had difficulties and been discriminated against, surely that doesn't mean that one cannot now criticize the candidacy of a woman?
What I know is that Anne-Marie is the one who's going out in the hills and valleys, meeting the people and doing the work. I see Daryl as a supportive husband who is proud, and he has said, you know, he had his doubts as to whether he wanted his wife to get involved in politics. But I think Anne-Marie is passionate and willing to serve. When I look on how she has taken on the issues of the people and in her own way has found solutions to meet real needs. It's not Daryl that is running the seat, it is Anne-Marie, but he is assisting her as any good and supportive husband would assist.
Hold that thought
He
before I
is
go to
part of
break.
the Portland landscape.
Before I run out of time.
And we shouldn't be cynical about it and
not
scoff
cynical.
about
It's
it
not cynical.
and make light of it, because many of us couldn't do what we do
She
without the
referred
support of our family
She
and
referred
our
in the clip
spouses.
to doing bushing. How is she doing bushing? That's government resources that she's using to do the bushing.
But you don't know that. Don't speculate about it,
It is
please.
government resources that
Come
is doing
on.
the bushing. Who is doing the bushing? Are you saying that the bushing going on down there is not through the government? Is
I
that
am
what you're
saying
saying?
to you that you don't know
No, I'm asking.
and do not speculate.
I'm asking you as a
I
member
don't
of the
know
government.
who is doing the bushing
As
there.
a member of the government, you're not aware of who is doing the
I
bushing
don't
in
know
East Portland.
who is doing the bushing there, but I would be surprised that any resource would be improperly used to do it.
This is not the first time. It has happened before in the local government elections. $600 million.
All right,
No.
so I have to go to break. So when I come back, I'll have to give Martin Henry the first time up at bat when we come back from the next break.
Thank you. That's
Stay with us, we'll soon come.